Well, welcome back. Strange times, but here we are painting in a twist, and aren't we living in one? Well, this is where we left it. Just a basic drawing, one of those stages in a painting where not even a mother could love it, but persevere, that's what we're doing. The objective at this point is to introduce color to the painting, to start developing these forms and shapes in the colors we want. Primarily, I'm going to focus on the blue. And you saw briefly as we went through that what my choice of colors were. There's a Mediterranean blue by Daniel Smith, and then two Gamblin blues, a radiant turquoise, and probably my dioxazine purple. Yeah, that's what was also up there. So here I am, trying to find and adding just those little pieces of blue where I think I really want to keep them strong. If you look at the photograph, you'll see that that blue just sort of dances across the water, and typically that water will be the focal point. Typically because it's certainly got the majority of the canvas dedicated to it, and it's that one contrast of bright, intense color that kind of bounces out at us. So here I am again, using some of those purples in with the blues. There's trying to figure out if I want that to be that reflective. Now, I just have a few colors on my palette of blue, but mixing them will give me a great variety of colors, and what you're going to see me do is kind of feel my way, like where is it more violet, where is it more intense blue, where is it more turquoise, where is it lighter, and try to give you that kind of wonderful sense of sky reflected here in the water and that little stream or little creek we see running through this particular scene. Now the horizontal marks you're seeing me make are trying to establish those horizontal landforms and indicate some of the light going across in a horizontal pattern. I'm still looking for the blues. I'm really trying to get that bright kind of light blue at the top right of the water, and then bring it down to those deep kind of reflective blues towards the bottom of the pond. Now across that, there dances a little bit of green reflection, and we'll go back when I hit that with the green colors. I'll explain where that is and kind of why it is. So I think actually I'll add a little bit of that green just to start feeling that color and getting a sense of what I want to be green and what kinds of greens I want to make it. This is a cad green light that just can go either way. I can make it intense. I can kind of muddy it up a little bit with its complement, those violets, and we'll see where we get with that. I've used a lot more of that green in here. You can see that in the painting at this stage. My intention here is to blend some of those violets, tone down that bright blue a little, because I want to be able to go back in and pick exactly where that reflective shape is. So I want that to contrast, which is why I'm toning it down. I'm laying in that blue where I want that water mass to be, but don't think for a minute I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to put some of those reflective shapes in it, and I would like to add certainly some darker purples and blues in there to find that variety that is so prevalent in nature. I'm looking for those land masses here, the reflection as it is in the water, and some of course, is the bottom part of that little creek. We've got a creek bed there, so this probably wasn't the best choice for an introduction to landscape painting. There's a lot of mass in there. I typically don't paint with this kind of detail, but because this is a demonstration and I kind of want you to think about all of this, I just am going ahead. Typically, like I say, this would be abstracted a little more than what I'm doing here, but I think it's important for you to see me look for some of those shapes. And once you find them, you can kind of do what you want to with them, either ignore them, paint them over, or do something else. So you can see I've added a little bit of that lighter blue. Now to make it really pop, I'm going to have to add some darks adjacent to it. You can see by adding that dark next to the light how that light gets even brighter. Now I'm also looking for masses here. And the masses I wish I could identify. I can't really say it's the reflection of a tree trunk or it's a grass or it's a stone. It's really just a color and a strange kind of little shape. So I can't name to you what I'm looking for. I'm just looking at some of those edges and trying to find some of those shapes. And here again, they can be as realistic or as abstract as you want them to be. For a while here, I'm going to be focused on adding some of those darker tones to get the depth I want in the water. So you can see how I'm kind of developing those shapes. Still not identifying something like a tree trunk or a landmass, just looking for those shapes in the water, looking for those deep, deep reflective tones. Okay, now I'm concerned with making that diagonal from the shadow of that tree trunk across the water body to the bottom right corner. See if I can make that a little bit stronger with the darks. Now I think I'm going to work on the background a little bit. Some of that landmass as it recedes. I want to keep those diagonals if I can, coming from the top right across to the left. and lighter paint is going to give me that landmass. That goes back a bit more, and I'm just going to be sketchy about that, I think. I'm going to lay in some of that mass of other plantings just to give us that sense of there being something in the back of that painting. I'm going to pick up that diagonal back there as well. Just that lazy kind of slope. Got to keep my colors as they repeat themselves going back. Now there's a lazy little bush over here in the creek too. I think I need to indicate where that's going to be. Just, I don't know, just looks like a bit of a salt cedar. I can't tell for sure. And then if I want to go in, I know very well, and add some more light paint. I can't keep laying it in over a darker tone. So I wipe that out, go back and try again. What you see me doing here is trying to balance out those colors. I don't want just one intense area of green, for an example. And if there's a light green on one part of the painting, I'd like for it to kind of move, maybe to a lesser degree, to another part of the painting as well. I'm on the left bank now, and I'm trying to find some of those land masses and repeat the green that you are seeing, in fact, in the photograph, that give us that sense of a grassy bank. I'm feeling for the land masses and that bank edge and some of that reflected light along the bank edge that give you that sense of, in fact, it being changing from a grassy kind of bank to a watery kind of edge. There's always a line, a reflection then also. We didn't talk too much about the green colors in this. I did tell you the cad yellow is, or the cad green light is one of the ones I'm using. I'm also using an Indian yellow because it's a nice, rich, transparent, and a little bit of buff titanium and white to get to a nice area. Oh, and then Naples yellow too. That takes a nice toning. So I've got these shades that I'm just feeling for a bank. Nothing, you couldn't say, oh, that's a leaf, or gee, that's a grass, or there's a bush. It's just color shapes at this point, I think. Okay, now I'm going to reach for some of those darker shapes in the background. Some of those verticals, maybe some shadows on the ground to continue make us feel like it's a flat plane. Trying to put in a little bit of shadows from a tree that we don't see much of, but we do see some of those vertical tree trunks, and that would be the cast shadow, of course, that we're trying to get. Repeating some of those nice I think this is a quinacridone violet that I'm using here. It's a warm violet, very transparent, so easy to mix with other colors, and gives you a warmth that you don't get out of the dioxazine, I guess, and that's why I'm using it here. Okay, my concern at this point is to develop the shadows, those other shapes now down in the water. I'm going to go in with a couple of different colors. I'm using that dioxazine purple, of course. I'm using a little bit of that Venetian red with it just to somehow reflect that warm light off the bottom. So you're seeing on that water not just blue and purple, but you're seeing red and green and all kinds of things that were kind of blending to make them give you the distance and the reflected lights and make it begin to work a little bit and be a little bit more interesting and look a little bit like something other than just some blobs of purple. You can see very well where we're trying to make some of those shapes begin to make sense. I'm doing a little leaf shape in here, little branches that are obviously overhanging the bank at this point, trying to make those reflected and make them a little clearer when you look at them, even though certainly don't look like a tree. My tool that I was showing you and that I'm using is that ceramic tool. It's like a little eraser that's shaped on the edge of this. You can get those at Michael's too. They're, I don't know, a pack of 7 different kinds of points. But it's kind of nice to go in and lift and mark through the paint when you want to do that in a particular area. This is getting it about where I want it before I step back and really start analyzing it and doing that so what thing, you know? One of the things that was apparent to me was when I moved it into the natural light away from the other easel, it was very, very cool. So I brought it over here where I get a little bit better light, more daylight, and I realized that I need something kind of warm in there. So I've gone back in now with some of that Indian yellow and Naples yellow and cad green, picking up some of those tree branches, trying to give it a little warmth, a little sparkle that I don't think was there before. And now trying to make some of those light areas move across the canvas to give us a sense of dynamics and something that looks like it's got a little life to it, you know. Keeping the tones light is good. Keeping the colors distinct, I think, is kind of good. I'm pretty happy with what the reflections in the water are doing, so I'm not fooling with that too much here. Nice sense of that blue as it moves across too, and I think I'm going to need to add a little bit more. There's kind of a nice warm violet shade for the shade of that tree that's kind of cascading down the bank. I'm kind of pleased with that. I kind of want to put some more blue over there, I think. Um, no reason for it other than I just want a little blue. It could be a wet spot, it could be a reflected thing, but it kind of helps us see the blue water, I think. It won't be very dominant by the time I finish it. You can see that along with trying to repeat the color, I'm also very worried about or worrying the area of keeping those diagonals fairly obvious too. I'm using a little bit of that lighter to give me that line that comes into that diagonal of the shadow across the water. There are diagonals all over the place, and some of them I want to be very strong, but that's what hopefully gives us a sense of being outdoors, that kind of nice movement that we see in the grass, in the leaves, in the water. Well, I'm kind of worrying it now. Just going to add some of that warmth here. Pretty much have it where I want it to step back, look at it, and kind of do a self-analysis. This is where we invite the left side of the brain over and to say, that's not balanced, or that needs to be a little yellow or a little green or a little stronger or a little less dominant. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step back from this here in just a minute. This is how my palette wound up. I've got the blues and purples on the right, the yellows and the golds and the greens on the left, a little bit of those medium colors. And this is about where it was when I left it. And then what I'm going to do, this is the scene that we're working from, and then of course I'm going to fade this into the little painting that I did. And I think you'll see what we started out to do is pretty much there. We've got the diagonals, we've got the verticals, we've got the water movement, and some of the light in there. Um, and I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with you on this. It's been a fun thing for me, and hope we get together and I see you soon.